Draw my inspiration from the bush. I love the natural environment and finding the birds and the plants that I see on my walks. My name is Jane Durand and I'm a ceramic and mosaic artist. I do large installations on buildings and I also do smaller sculptural pieces. So I like to work with clay a lot and make pieces with clay, but then I also like the combination of using the little fine glass mosaic pieces and the different textures and patterns that that offers. I was born and grew up in Durban in South Africa, and I always loved doing art. When I was a child, we lived very close to the Botanic Gardens, and I used to pretend that was my garden, and I'd always go walking off with a sketchbook and a box of paints and sit somewhere in the gardens and do my masterpieces. When I finished school, I went to study fine art. I moved to Australia in 2014, and when I first moved here, I found it very, very difficult. I thought, why did I come here? I was very depressed when I first arrived. I thought I was never going to make it work, and I really missed the African landscape. And everything was different and strange, and I felt no connection to the Australian landscape at all. And I was also 46 already, and that's hard when you're trying to break into an art world and an art scene in the galleries and you don't know anyone. So I decided to join a bushwalking group. I didn't know the plants and I wasn't familiar with them, especially the trees, because I grew up learning that gum trees and wattle trees were baddies and they were alien invasives where I lived. And then I slowly but surely started to learn about them, and I've grown to love them. Once you start learning the names of the birds and the names of the plants, you can connect with them and you feel like you know them, and then it made me feel a much better sense of belonging in this place. At first, I was really taken in by all the big birds. I loved all the cockatoos and the lorikeets and all the crazy, really colourful birds that just looked like they escaped from a very fancy pet shop. I love the little wrens, the little fairy wrens which hang around my garden. I just absolutely love those. We have the little blue wrens and their little wives who are brown, but they're just so gorgeous. I love the little double-barred finches. They're just so quirky and sweet and lovely. I like to make sculptural pieces with the birds, with their natural flora that they would normally associate with, and have it in a museum jar. So it's almost like saying, perhaps this is the only way we'll see these creatures one day, because they'll be all gone. I do have a little collection of taxidermied birds in my studio, and they are my models, and I use them when I'm making something because it really helps me understand how this creature is built and how the wings work and how the feathers are joined and little things like that, because it gives me a greater understanding of what puts that animal together. I was part of an exhibition at the Museum of Brisbane, so I made a very large piece celebrating the Brisbane bush turkey and all its wonders. They still look prehistoric. They still look as if they're from the dinosaur era. They really lend themselves to being a design because they have such quirky proportions and interesting details. They've got sideways tails and they've got really strange, ugly heads, but they're just incredible, and it's now part of the Museum of Brisbane's permanent collection. I'm having an exhibition and making a series of vases for this exhibition. I'm making quite large pieces, and I'm focusing them on Australian native flowers. I've looked at the bottlebrush flower, and I often see the blue-faced honeyeaters hanging out when the flowers are blooming. So I'm combining these birds with this flower for the vase, so I've stylized the flower a little bit and made a large vase. I'm doing another one for a grevillea plant. I love grevillea flowers and how they attract the little honey eaters. I've got a vase for noisy flowers. So it's a vase that I've put cicadas onto, and the cicadas are so noisy, and so I just imagined that some very bright and loud flowers would go very nicely in that vase. I've also got a vase for billy buttons. I think they are quite interesting. They're very sculptural flowers. They're just a little round ball on a long stem, and they're quite straight. And so I've played around with their structure a little bit and made a vase for them. And I've also got a very great, enormous piece that is going to be for eucalyptus flowers. I have made them in sections, which then get placed on top of each other. That's the way that the traditional Dutch tulip vases were made, and each section has spouts for the stems of the flower to go into. I like doing sketches and drawings to work out in my head what I'm doing. I always think through drawing, and then I'll start making the work out of clay, and it just takes a long time. I had a beautiful workshop space in Brisbane with 100 square meters that I had for years and years. But as the years have gone by, my mum, who lives with us, she's got dementia and she needs a little bit of help and care. Come sit down, ma'am.
Thank you. Had a lovely day.
Bernie's supposed to be making dinner. I made the decision last year to not stay in my beautiful workshop space, but to rather set up at home. And so I've rather taken over the house, I think. What did you do this morning?
I went to the most beautiful music place. I can't remember the name of it right now.
That doesn't matter. Luckily, my mum is very, very sociable and friendly person, and she's got a good social calendar, so a lot of her friends are taking her out and about. Yes.
Oh, look at Willie now.
I know, he likes painting too. The nice thing about it is being at home, my dogs are very happy. They're very pleased that I'm with them all the time. So how's your painting going? That looks good. Doing the work that I do is completely a labor of love. I feel a compulsion to do it. It's what I really want to do, and it makes me feel happy. You don't earn a lot of money doing art.
Welcome everybody to this wonderful exhibition.
It's always so lovely to see your pieces in the gallery space rather than in your messy studio, because they always look so much nicer in a different setting, and you can look at them again in a whole new way. I've been dreaming about this body of work for a long time. The longer that I've been in Australia and the more that I've understood what Australia is, I think my work has progressed in that way.